Hi, Eric with Rockin Farm Toys. Today I'm going to show you how to install one of my custom grain bed kits. We're going to demonstrate on is a generic Kenworth W900L. This one's already been stretched and prepared. It's ready for the bed. On any truck that you want to stretch, if you're going to do that, if you intend to use the working hoist, make sure that the inside in between the frame rails is fairly smooth so your hoist has room to operate up and down. If you're going to install a fixed bed, doesn't matter. You can skip that part, just stretch it and off you go. Here's something that I don't describe very well. Please leave a comment in the comment box under the video. I'll be glad to answer it for you. And you can email me and catch me on social media however you wish. That's good because I want to make sure that you get your truck the way you want it looking. Going back to this truck, there's no hard and fast rules to how far you stretch your truck. It's really kind of your preference. This one is 3.5 inches from the back of the cab to the edge of the frame. That gives me the amount of overhang that I like to see. It's personal preference only. Some tandems I've seen, the back of the frame will be flush with the back of the bed. It's really a matter of your choice. So you just kind of go with, you do want it long enough that your hoist will operate if you're using that. Also, when you dump your bed, if it has a working hoist, that it doesn't hit the ground. On some of the old C65s, if any of you have seen those, some of those, they had a pretty steep angle on the back of the bed, would touch the ground in some cases. Let's get started. Here are the tools you're going to need to install one of my beds. Number one, you're going to need a drill. Cordless drill is fine, or hand drill is fine, because styrene that you'll be using and the resin that you'll be using is soft enough you can use a small drill. I use my cordless drill. You'll need a 1/16 inch drill bit, X-Acto knife or something sharp to cut with. I like tweezers for holding small pieces. I just discovered these little scissors. I think you find them in manicure kits, and these are really good for getting in and using cutting some of these small tubes in small places and parts like that. You'll need super glue. Here's something that I've been using that is just really handy for getting glue in just the right spots. I use a piece of wax paper or any discarded paper and a toothpick, and that is a trick I learned, and really works well for putting glue in just the right spot without gluing your parts together. What a pain. And then obviously you want a little ruler too. That'll be good for you as well. What you're going to get in the kit: you'll get a frame that attaches to the truck. You'll get the resin bed, obviously, which attaches to the frame. You'll be getting a piece of round styrene rod that will be used for pins, an end gate. You're going to get some flat styrene strip that you can use to make silage end gate if you want a silage gate. You'll also get a piece of styrene that goes in this piece of with this part, and that will be for your hoist. You'll get 2 pieces of styrene strip that are already cut. I use them about 3/4 of an inch in length. You can make them shorter if you want, but you're going to have enough styrene to make these about as long as you want to get the dump angle you like. And then you'll get another part, square styrene rod that goes with the hoist. And finally, this piece of C-channel that will also be used for your hoist that attaches to your bed. Again, if you're not using, if you don't want a hoist, if you want a fixed bed, just discard those parts or put them in your own scrap bin for later use. Okay, we're ready to get started on assembly. So what we're going to do is we use this frame that attaches to your truck. This is kind of the foundation for where we're going to start. No hard and fast rule says you have to use all this. This is the way I've been doing it for a long time, and it seems to work fairly well. So what I do is, from the front of this frame, and the front will be the part down here with the piece of plastic across, the open end is the rear. Measure about 1 1/8 or an inch to 1 1/8 back from the front, and I put 2 red marks here, as you can see. Once you got that done, then you're ready to take the wider piece of styrene strip and you want to cut that to about 1/4 of an inch in length. I simply do that with my X-Acto knife. Anything sharp will cut the styrene strip pretty well. Now, earlier I mentioned I use a piece of wax paper to put a little bit of super glue on, and then I'll use a toothpick so I get just the right amount where I want it. In this case, what we're going to do here is I'm going to take my styrene strip with my tweezers and just touch that a little bit on there, and then hold that into place on my red mark. This part is going to be pinned, and what you'll end up doing here is once we have the other side on, we'll go ahead and drill a hole in it, and that's where the bottom part of your hoist will go. So line that up, and now you're ready. And of course, as you noticed, if you use too much, glue your frame down to the mat. That's not that's not great. So we'll let this dry over here for just a little bit, and we'll move on to the next piece. Now we'll work on our hoist. For this, you'll need your 1/16 inch drill bit, and what I've been doing is just drill a little hole in the bottom end of the styrene strip, and that will be pinned, and it'll be important that you get your holes drilled in both pieces even, or else your hoist isn't going to operate very well. And if you screw up or you make a mistake, it's just styrene strip, you know, you'll have plenty, you can make another one if you need to. Commonly what I've done in the past, I'll stick a rod through the bottom end of two so I know at least I'll get an even hole going through the top. Okay, now your hoist is essentially done for the moment, but we'll go ahead and take it to the next step. What you'll need to do then is cut just a little bit of rod for your middle pin for the hinge point. And that was just not long enough, so what I'm going to do, you'll have plenty of rod, go ahead and cut them a little longer, they're just simpler to work with. And we got our nice tweezers to pick things up, that makes it simple yet again. There, that's all there is to it for your hoist. That's it. Now what I go ahead and do is I'll take just a dab of super glue, and I'll just go ahead and glue that pin in. And this is where it's very important that you don't use too much super glue, because it happens to me, it'll happen to you. If you use too much, you'll glue that hinge together, and then obviously you got to start over. So I put a dab of glue on both sides. You'll notice that rod is a bit long. That's okay. You can cut that off with your neat tweezers here, or your neat cutters. These work really slick for that. Or you can use your side cutter. It's okay. Or your, your X-Acto knife. That part's now drying. So what we'll do is we'll put in the top piece. You're going to get this. It can look kind of rough. It's not cut perfectly. You can go ahead and trim this up and true it up as much as you like with your X-Acto knife. It cuts really, really easy. So don't be afraid to clean that up if it's not just the way you like it. I do like to keep the base just a bit wider. That way you have a little bit more to glue to on the bottom end of your box. Again, like we did before, we're going to use a little bit of extra long styrene rod. Okay. A little glue here. And while that's drying, we'll set it off to the side. And we'll go to the next step. Here's a finished one that I'll actually use for this truck. I did this before I decided to make a how-to video. Basically, all you'll do is drill a hole clean through both pieces, and you start on one side and then drill straight through it to the other. And then if you look, you can make sure that the hole is clean and straight, and then you're done. Also, you'll need to drill a hole in the back for a hinge pin on the bed. So you'll need to, either with a drill press or a small vise or pliers, drill a hole through the back of this and then all the way through. So I'm going to put a silage end gate on a grain bed, because I'm going to call this silage grain bed combo for display purposes, or if I was to flip it on eBay, that's how I'd sell it to someone. So we'll get to that part now. For silage end gate, you'll take some of your styrene rod, and if you're actually going to put silage racks on, you want to cut that piece right at a 1/2 inch long. So what we'll do here is we'll make just a quick mark. Now you're ready to glue them to the end bit, to your end gate. Your end gate is one piece, and you'll take the styrene strip, touch glue, and then attach it to the bed. Again, you want to be careful that it's perpendicular and it's not at a weird angle. Once I get them set and I know they're not going to move anymore, I'll come in with just a bit more glue on the end of my toothpick and kind of fill in that angle just a little bit. And then let them dry. And that one is complete. Next, this is something I didn't show you. This is also going to come in your kit, but I didn't show you at the beginning of the video. This is going to be your hinge point for the bottom of the bed. What you'll do is you'll take part of this, and you'll have more than you need. You'll need to trim it down to fit in between the frame. So measure the inside of the frame, and I noticed this one needs to be cleaned up just a touch before we put that in. Okay, now we'll make sure we did it right. And a bit long yet. On this part here, do make sure that it fits pretty loose. It doesn't need to be tight. I haven't had a problem with these, but I know they can hang up and give it a smooth operation and not have any problems down the road. Cut them at just a hair short. It's okay. Perfect. Alright, take some of your styrene rod and assemble that to the bottom of that frame. Back of the frame here, so I got just a little bit of gap up here, so I'm going to keep that right off the leading edge of that bed. One thing you'll notice on this hinge point, it's got a piece of triangular tubing here. That is to raise it just a little bit off the back of the bed. You want that triangular tubing flat side down and the round side up. Now we're ready to glue this down. Again, going back to the toothpick idea, I use just a little bit of glue to kind of get it stuck, and then I'll pull this rod out, remove the frame, and I'll use a lot more glue to make it solid and so it doesn't come off. And it's kind of tacked on now. Alright, we will gently pull that rod out, move the frame, and now I'm ready to go ahead and use a little more glue on that piece. And you can make these as clean as you want. I'm cutting them off pretty rough. You can come back in here with a little file and file those down smooth if you'd like. It's kind of up to you. You'll notice how this other hinge point is clear out in front. Everything is just the way it's meant to be. So I must not have got enough glue on that. We'll fix that with just a tiny dab right there. Next, you can begin assembling the end gate. So now you'll notice my vise kind of got everything lined up here and held by hand, and what we'll do now is just punch a hole through that and we'll be good. It'll be important to keep your drill nice and level. Okay. Move that off the road. And now you're ready to pin your end gate glue on that edge and let it dry. Nothing fancy about this stuff. I think I bought this at Walmart or some other type of discount store. If you don't clean this really good, it's going to fisheye on you when you paint it, and that's just a big complaint about using resin is the fisheye. I've had it happen to me a number of times and had to start projects over. Thanks to a friend on Facebook, I found this lacquer thinner really does a nice job, and I've had a lot more success using this than some of the other things I've tried to do. This little groove here is kind of a pain to get in there and clean, so do what you can. For painting, I've been using this Krylon Fusion. It's been working very well, and I'll do that as the first coat, and then I'll come back and use some other spray paint, buy from Hobby Lobby to get it to match. I found a really cool paint at Hobby Lobby that matched this Kenworth almost perfectly. And so I shot it first with the Krylon Fusion, and then I came back with the color that I wanted on here. This truck here was shot with Krylon Fusion in white, and then I went back over it with another Krylon product, but it was not the Fusion paint, it was just a gloss white that didn't get quite as close to what I'd preferred on the truck, on the cab, but it got the customers happy, so I'm happy. So we're ready for paint, and we'll be back for final assembly. Okay, now we're back, and as you can see, all the parts are painted, and we're ready for final assembly. What you should have done by now is painted your main frame that attaches to your truck, painted your bed, and this one I put some pinstripes on just to mix it up a little bit. And if any of you happen to do some cool paint jobs, boy, do share them with me, because painting is not my skill set, and I'd like to see what everyone else does. You'll notice the side here is smooth, and it's just awesome for painting, so I hope you guys get a chance to do some really cool work. You have your end gate, hoist, and then this should be all you really need is this final piece of styrene rod. And of course, on my truck here, I've got the frame rails painted as well. So let's do some final assembly. First, I'm going to cut this just a bit long, or I'm going to install this. Okay, I'll get a little dab of super glue, and you can cut this off prior to gluing or after, whatever you want to do. And again, using just a little bit because I don't want to glue anything together that I don't want together. And then trim this piece off. You'll notice I didn't paint the bottom of this. This will be down against these frame rails, so paint it if you want. I chose not to. Okay, good. We didn't glue those together. Next comes the hoist. And on this one, I'm only going to glue one side and then cut the other side. I'm using channel iron to stretch this truck, which is something I've never done before. I found it to be a bit narrow. Therefore, I got to squeeze this framing together in order to get it in between the frame rails. So I'm only going to glue one side just to hold the pin in place. Now I'll come in and cut. And it popped out, not a problem. Stick it back in there. Done. Next, I'm going to position my hoist and drop it in, and now I'm going to let it dry. And then what I'll do is I'll raise that hoist and put glue on the back side and all the way around. The reason to wait is sometimes I did this in the past was I got too much glue in there and then I end up gluing this frame down to the end of the bed, or to the edge of the bed, and that's not what we want. More glue here, and drag that around. Okay, all of this is painted, and I put these pins in. Styrene is flexible enough that and the resin are all flexible enough you can put those pins in. Okay, we're back and our parts are dry enough. Now we can begin assembling the bed, or attaching the bed to the frame, to the truck. This is going to be kind of a tight fit for this particular truck just because of the way I stretched it. The truck here. You're not going to need just a bunch just to get the initial, just to get it to stick initially. Again, don't be sloppy with that super glue, or you can overdo it and your bed won't operate. You know, the hoist will get stuck somehow or another. That's happened. I'm just telling you, be careful with your glue. Don't go crazy with it. It's not necessary. Or just a little bit here with your toothpick and get that right where you want it. Once your glue is dry, you're ready to put your truck into action. At this point, you're ready to customize it as you wish. Everything operates smoothly. You can paint some ladder another color. You could put ladder down the side. You could, if you didn't have this optional working end gate, you could put a tarp system on it. You could actually put silage racks on this bed and it'd look fine too. I haven't done that yet, but certainly it's a possibility. You can buy all these products individually on your own, or you can buy them from Rockin Farm Toys and miniature detail kits, and I'll supply that stuff for you. You'll have to do the work, of course, but you can add this and trick out your truck as much as you like. Hey friends, thanks for taking a few moments to watch this how-to video. If there's any questions you have, please ask. I'm willing to share any tips and tricks that I've learned through the process of building these beds. And if you do anything really awesome, please share those videos or pictures with me, because I'd love to see the work you're doing to make these grain beds really cool. And check back often, because I'll be producing other videos for other products that I'm making and other kits that I'm going to have available soon. So look forward to serving you in the future, and look forward to seeing your cool trucks and your awesome work. Thanks again.